Daled, where we've been talking about the impact of the view of the Yechida in Torah. So the Yechida in Torah is Chassidus, and how that impacts the way we see everything. So we have discussed the idea that how first of all what Chassidus is, and this whole idea that Chassidus is not an explanation of Kabbalah, but Kabbalah in a sense is an explanation of Chassidus. And after we had done that here, I prompted me to go and learn in Shel Torah Chassidus again. So I pulled it out because last week we missed the class because I was traveling the week before. So I pulled it out on Shabbos. I relearned it. And in the footnote in the Heritage series, the one that Sichas in English, I think, put out, there's the whole footnote there that may have that quote from the Rebbe Rashab about how people think that Chassidus is an explanation of Kabbalah and why it's not really the case. So I would suggest that you go and have a look at that again. It's quite beautiful. So this whole idea is that when we look at things from the perspective of Chassidus, that we're talking about the Yechida of Torah, it changes our perspective in everything. So we looked at how the Rambam, for example, views our purpose in the world and why we exist, and how the Rambam keeps focusing on the human being and our understanding and our seichel, and how we're limited in this world, and that's why there's always this desire to go beyond for Olam Haba, because that's where our neshama is going to be able to really bask in Hashem. But when we look at it from the point of Yechida, it's not really the case. It's not that like that at all. And we talked about the fact that from the Yechida point of view, obviously it's we're talking about L'mal Miseder Shtalshlos, where the Rambam is really limited in everything that he's discussing in terms of Hashem and Chachma and using our intellect. That's only within Seder Hishtalshlos. When we talk about the Yechida, we're talking about something that's coming from a source that's above Seder Hishtalshlos. And that's why it's not about Olam Haba, it's about here in this world. It's being able and having that potential for infinity and that potential to be able to grasp Hashem himself, not just Ha'ara, like what the neshamas get in Shemaim anyway. And so we talked about that, and we talked about the idea that even Ein Od Milvado, how the Rambam says Ein Od Milvado and says Ein Od Kamoisai. There's no one like Hashem, because if you talk about with it Seder Hishtalshlos, everything is a mitzvah. Hashem made creations. That's what even the world of Bria is the beginning of creation. So when the Rambam says Ein Od Milvado, he says Ein Od Milvado. There's nothing like Hashem, nothing like Hashem Kamoisai. That Hashem is a mitzvah amiti, and we are a mitzvah, but not mitzvah amiti. We're not a true existence. And then we saw how, of course, we know the Alter Rebbe and Tanya talks about Ein Od Milvado, that there is actually nothing else aside from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So when we think of, well, again, when we look at it from a higher perspective, not from within Seder Hishtalshlos, but the level of Yechida, which is coming from Keser, above Seder Hishtalshlos, we start seeing things in a very different way. And then we talked about the foundation of Bittul, how Bittul is this concept that we have different levels of Bittul. There's Bittul HaYesh, Bittul Mitzias, Bittul of Ayin Ve'efes, and how each one of those is another level. So Bittul Hayesh is just saying, I exist, but I'm nullified to Hashem. Or Bittul Mitzias, no, I don't even, right? There's nothing even there. And then Bittul of Ayin Ve'efes, that I'm really completely subservient to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and what we talked about before. And how everything really is about that, because ultimately the whole Mila of creation is to be able to do what Hashem Eibishter wants, and that Ratzon, which is above Chachma, and that's the whole point of everything, is that we do the what Hashem wants us to do in this particular world, and doing it in a way of knowing that it's this world, and that's what it's about, and that's the Tachlis of Bria, Dir B'Tachtanim right down here. Now, we connected that to the idea of a Rebbe, to the idea of Mashiach, and now I believe, that we did this already, Rifki, I hope, tell me if I'm wrong. Now I'm a little confused.
Yeah, I think we did this.
This is where my paper was, right? Chassidus and Mashiach and what a Rebbe is. And now, today, what we're going to see is, so we explained how the concept of Yechida changes our view of Limud Torah, changes our view of learning about Talmud Torah and the Beit HaMikdash and all sorts of things. And what we're going to do tonight is to see how, again, with this perspective of Yechida, we can go back to some things that we know in Torah. We're going to see the example of Yosef and Yehuda, and later on an example of the Kais Hamishi that we talk about in terms of Pesach, and see how from that level of Yechida, how that illuminates really everything. And again, coming back to it pays really to go back and learn in Yonashal Torah Chassidus, where the Rebbe again talks about the different levels, Pshat, Remesh, Drush, and Side, and how Chassidus is really the oil. It kind of permeates all of them. It's not another level; it permeates everything. So when we have this perspective, this Yechida perspective, which what Chassidus is, that every time we look at anything else in Nigla, in Torah, whether it's from level of Pshat, Remesh, Drush, or Side, we start seeing it from another whole perspective. So tonight, let's begin with this idea of Yosef and Yehuda. And what do we know about Yosef and Yehuda? In the Parsha, and talk about Parsha Vayigash, we're going to see how it comes out in the Parsha and how we see it in the Haftarah, and how Chassidus really shows us the deeper meaning behind all of that. So, Rivki, go ahead.
About me?
Yes.
Yosef Yehuda v'Pshat v'Kabbalah v'Chassidus. B'tchilas Parshas Vayigash mesupar al Hagashas Yehuda Yosef kasher Yosef hu Mishnah Melech Mitzrayim uvakesh lahafredas Binyamin me'al achiv. Yehuda nigash le'yischanein elav bi'adoni yudaber navdecha davar bazni adoni v'al yichar abcha b'avdecha ki kamoicha kipara. So in the beginning of Parshas Vayigash, it tells about the meeting of Yehuda and Yosef, when Yosef was the Mishnah Melech of Mitzrayim, and he tries to separate Binyamin from his brothers. So Yehuda approaches him to ask him, please let me speak to you and don't get angry at you you as Parai. ובתרס הקבלה ומבארת שנשמעסיהם של שבטי כה משתל שלויס מהספירס על יוניס. יסף וצדק הוא בחינס יסויד. יהודה שממני יצא מלכוס דוד הוא בחינס מלכוס. So Teres Kabbalah explains that the neshamas of the Shvatim come from the upper spheres, and Yosef Tzadik is Yisoid, and Yehuda, from whom comes Malchus David, is Malchus. V'kshem shesfiras Malchus mekabel hashefem sfiras hayisoid, kach Yehuda nigash lekabel hashefem Yosef Tzadik. And as the sphere of Malchus receives from Yisoid, so Yehuda approached to receive shefa, abundance, from Yosef Tzadik.
You could say the abundance or influence, or right? He was under his influence, right? He could only do what he would allow him to do in that case, which is why he said, I want to speak to you, and by Yechar Abcha, ba'avdecha, like, please don't be angry with your servant. So, but he was under he was dependent on him. As Malchus receives from Yesod, Yehuda was in that position. He was subservient in a sense at that point to Yosef. Okay.
Yehuda Omer Yosef bi'adoni, haynish adoni Yesod yumshach v'yushba bi b'malchus, and that's why he says bi'adoni, please, because that Yesod is Adoim, and he should draw and give to Malchus. V'nimtza shegam al pi hapshat.
Adoim is a master, right? So bi'adoni, because it's above in a sense, yes? Okay.
ונמצא שגם על פי הפשט וגם על פי הנסתר בספר זה נראה כיצד יוסף הוא למעלה מיהודה, ויהודה זקוק אליו לקבל ממנו שפע, אוי לזכנן לשחרס בנימין. So in this story we see that Yosef is, so according to Pshat and according to Nistar, according to Kabbalah, in this story we see that Yosef is higher than Yehuda, and Yehuda needs him. He has to get from him influence, or he has to beg him to free Binyamin. Amnam b'Haftarah Vayigash koydem b'nevus Yecheskel oides ichud eitz Yehuda ve'etz Yosef lasid lavoi u'oifen she'avdi David melech alehem malchus Yehuda al Yosef. But in the Haftarah Vayigash we read the Nevuah of Yecheskel about the uniting of the tree of Yehuda and the tree of Yosef, which will be in the future, in a way that David will rule over everyone. Malchus Yehuda will rule over Yosef too. Ubteres HaChassidus ne'emadim al nevuah zu, u'mevarim oisa al pi ha'ikron shelasad lovei tizgal ha'mailas ha'malchus. Yehuda ubeis David al kol ha'sfiros, mitzacher sha'malchus b'pnimis ha'keser, b'sod noot tchilasim b'seifim tchilasim. So in Chassidus talks about this nevuah and explains it according to the rule that in the future, or that in the future, the Maila of Malchus will be revealed. Malchus meaning Yehuda and based of it, and the Maila of Malchus over all the spheres, because the Sherish of Malchus is in Pnimis HaKeser. And the end, the last star is sourced in the beginning, which I guess Malchus is the last of the spheres, so its source is in the start, which is Pnimis HaKeser, before all the other spheres. Umayse Varebu Mavar, she'im nisboyim b'sifer, shebeparsha nukulam tzoy boy gufa, es my loso shel spheres Malchus al kol spheres. Mailis Yehuda al Yosef. So the Rebbe adds and explains that if we will delve into the story in the parsha, we could find there too the Maila of Malchus over the other spheres, the Maila of Yehuda over Yosef. Gam Sipur b'derech pshat adis Yehuda v'Yosef shalamata. Harei l'mroshi Yosef hu asholat al aretz Yehuda kari la'atzmai avdecha maschani lefanav harei b'memaked es hamabad b'divrei Chazal sheYehuda diber im Yosef koshes v'amar loi im takniteni ereg oischa v'es adonecha. Because in the story, even according to Pshat of Yehuda and Yosef as they are in this world, so even though Yosef is the ruler of the land and Yehuda calls himself a servant and is begging him, but the Rebbe looks at what it says in Chazal, that Yehuda spoke to Yosef very strong words here, and he said, if you will stop us or not listen to us, I will kill you and also your master Paro.
No, the Rambam says that on the word Vayigash, right? That he approached him in a way of like Muhammad. That like in a very strong manner. Either do this, like I'm coming nicely, but if you don't, you don't know.
שדברים אלו מבטאים תוקף בלתי מוגבל ועל טבעי, הבא מצד הקשר העל טבעי של יהודה עם הקדוש ברוך הוא. And the Rebbe explains that these words express the strength, the unlimited strength and strength above nature that come because of the above nature connection of a Yid with Hashem. Zois l'umas Yosef, she'im Yosef Moshel ha'aretz, harei ha'tekef shaloi, ha'yatekef tivi, lefi shegivu la'es minuyav mipare, lefi ha'yatekef mugbal, kefi ma, shepare her shalom. But this is not as it is by Yosef, because even though Yosef was the ruler of the whole land, but his strength is a natural strength because he was appointed by Parai, and therefore his strength is limited into what Parai allows him to do. So that was according to Pshat, how really Yehuda has an advantage over Yosef. Now, according to Kabbalah, Oidus Asfir Shabayla Matzilus, Hashpo Misfir Seisai, the Sphere Samalchus, Mevarebesh Hashpo Yefailu Dios B'Shnei Afanim. מצד רוצה למשפיע לגלס את אשר בוי, אוי בפתי שהשפע יסקבל אצל המקבל. So when Kabbalah, when it's talking about the spheres as they are in Olam Atzilus, so the hashpa that Yisod gives to Malchus, the Rebbe explains that this influence could be given in two ways. Either it's from the will of the mashpia to reveal that which is in him, or because he wants the mekabel to receive the shefa. Al derze l'mayla v'ashpo mi'yisod l'malchus, shesvir se'yisod inyon giloy, v'lochen hi mitzida chofta l'galis es ma sheyesh bay. אף יש בזה עניין עמוק יותר, שעל ידי שהשפע מסקבל בספירת המלכות, נשלמת הכוונה העליונה להיות להספרך דברי תחתונים דווקא. So, so it is in above in the giving that Yesod gives to Malchus, that the idea of Malchus is Giloi, revelation, and therefore Yesod, right? So Yesod from itself wants to reveal what it has. But there's also a deeper inyan that through that which the Shefa is received by Malchus, so the purpose of Dir V'Tachtainim is fulfilled. ויש אשר שמלכוס בפנימיס הכסר, לכן יהודה שמידוסה היא מידוס המלכוס, חוש ומרגש וזה כוון עליונה של פנימיס הכסר, לא יספרך דיר ותחתינים. And because the Sherish of Malchus is Pnimis HaKeser, so therefore Yehuda, whose Mida is Malchus, so he feels the Kavod Elyoina, which is in Pnimis HaKeser, that Hashem wants, the Pnimis Ratzon Hashem is a Dir V'Tachtainim. So Yesod wants to give to Malchus, and Malchus wants to get from Yesod. Because Malchus
that this is it's that even in the giving, so Yesod, from the perspective of Yesod, it wants to give, right? Because that's what it's about. It's about revelation. So you would always say, I want to reveal because it's like I'm full. I have to give, yeah. But then there's also the fact that Malchus, I want Malchus to get, right, which is different. So I need to offload, or I need that I want to get. Okay. So you know how they say in Chazal, as much as the baby wants to drink, the mother needs to give the baby, right? So it's the same thing. So from one side, like we need to give, but it's also about what the Malchus is going to get. So and ultimately what Malchus is going to get is the main kavanah. Because Malchus, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about being down here and doing what Hashem wants, and everything else is just means to that end. So Yehuda then, if Yehuda is Malchus and his source is in Pnimis HaKetzer, which means that's where the Ratzon is, that's where the whole purpose of everything is, then he's the one who really can feel the whole purpose of why everything is going on, and that it's mainly to make a dir b'tachtonim. And that's why, if you continue, you'll see Zehu.
וזהו שיהודה אומר ליוסף בידויני, היינו שאומר ליוסף שהשפע שישפיע לו יהיה לא רק מצד רצונו של יוסף להשפיע ולסגלס, אלא שידע שהעיקר הוא בידויני, שבי יומשך השפע, קבלת השפע בספירת המלכוס. B, like me, Malchus.
He, in me, yeah?
So that's why Yehuda says to Yosef, be Adoni. So it means he's saying to Yosef that the influence that he is giving should not only be because Yosef wants to give it and to reveal it, but that he should know that the main thing is be Adoni, that in me should the Shefa come, the Sfiras HaMalchus receiving the Shefa. וכשנסביינו בזה אפשר לראות כיצד הרב מוות על הסיפור שבפרשה במוות של יחידה וכסר, ולפיכך הוא מוצא בסיפור אז מהגלוסה של ספירס המלכוס שאשר שבפנימיס הכסר. So when we look into this, we see the Rebbe is looking at this story in the parsha in a way of Yechida and Keser. And therefore he finds in this story the Maila of Sfiras HaMalchus, whose source is in Pnimis HaKeser.
Before you go on, have a look at the footnote here, right?
וגם אפשר לראות בזה שוב את ההבדל בין חוכמת הקבלה המבארת את היחס בין הספירס העליונס כפי שהם בינם לבין עצמם, ותורת החסידות המביטה על הספירס במבט עליון יותר, כפי שזה מצידו של הכסר, ולפיכך נזכר למשמעות חדשה ביחס בין הספירס. So we can also see here that, again, the difference between Kabbalah and Chassidus. So Kabbalah explains the relationship between the upper spheres as they are between themselves. And Chassidus looks at the spheres in a higher way. from the perspective of Keser, and therefore it reveals a new meaning in the relationship between the spheres.
Yeah. So again, like I was saying in the footnotes of the Inyan Sefer Hasidus, where it explains this whole thing, it's like saying Kabbalah is like the technicality. The example that was given there was like if a doctor is going to learn a book of anatomy, yeah. So anatomy is just the map of the human body, and that's what Kabbalah is. It's the map of the worlds of Seder Shtashlos and of all the supernal worlds. But the doctor ultimately needs to cure the patient, right? Just because he knows the book of anatomy doesn't mean he understands the purpose of what he's going to do. That's not enough to be able to cure someone, right? The whole purpose of being the doctor is to be able to heal somebody, which is something, it's more than just the anatomy. Okay? It's really, so the anatomy is like the means, if I understand the map of it, from that I can grasp and figure out how then all the pieces are going to work together and what I need to do when something presents itself and how I have to work through it. Yeah. So it's just one part of what we really need. Okay. So that's why we see a Kabbalah saying, yeah, this is Malchus and this is Sphere, and then Malchus is higher, and he has to give and then Malchus has to receive. Okay, fine. But Hasidus is showing us the bigger picture. Okay, now keep going. Hein?
Hey, beer premium now, the gamma beer b'derech hapshat, l'mreisha nemar b'milim pshutos u'mbli likanes l'musagim chasidim, kaliroi שהתוקף של יהודה עליו הרבי מדבר הוא בעצם התוקף העל-טבעי והבלתי מוגבל שבחינס יחידה הקשורה עם יחידה של עולם. So in this pneumistic,
I think that this thing here was the end of this other sentence. I think that's just a comma there. So that's why we go back to the beginning, why we find the Rebbe finds in the story, right, the Malas Spheres of Malchus, that's Shars and Keser, in both within the inner meaning of it and also in the pshat of the story.
Right? The Kabbalah explanation and in the pshat explanation.
Yeah.
Even though it said even though the Rebbe says it in simple words and doesn't go into different concepts in Chassidus, but we could see that the strength of Yehuda that the Rebbe is talking about is the strength of which is above nature and which is without limitation, from the aspect of Yechida, which is connected to Yechida Shel Olam. Yehuda midas hamalchus asher shebikeser kanal lefichach meir etzlei hatoikef habilti mugbal shel hakeser v'yechida. And because Yehuda is midas hamalchus, that its source is in Keser, as explained above, and therefore in him shines the strength that is the power that is unlimited, the power of Keser and Yechida. וכנזכר ליחידה היא בכנס של משיח שתסגלל עשוי, וכאשר אנו מוציאים בסיפור זה יחידה שבוי, הרי שמצאנו את המשיח שבוי. וכנ"ל שבמס המשיח אכן תסגל מיילס יהודה על כל השבטים ועבדי דוד מלך עליהם. And so, as explained earlier, the Yechida is the aspect of Mashiach, as it will be revealed in the future. And we find in the story the Yechida, which is in it. So we find Mashiach, which is in it. And as we said in the Haftarah, we found that the revelation of the Mile of Yehuda over the other Shvatim. That's where we find in the Haftarah of Avdi David Malach Alehem that Yehuda will be higher than all the Shvatim. As the Rebbe already taught us that what we find in the parsha in a hidden way, we could find in the Haftarah in a revealed way. In Binyanenu, Shemaylas Yehuda al Yosef, Shebeparsha Mafia Behelem, Nimtzeis B'Haftarah B'Tzura Brura Umufareshes. And in our case, so the Maila of Yehuda over Yosef in the parasha itself, it's in a hidden way, But in the Haftarah, it's in a clear and
Explicit.
explicit way.
Exactly. Okay, Rifki. Want to take Kais Chamishi?
Sure. So hi, Deborah. I just wanted to share what I was thinking when you were talking about Kabbalah and Hasidus, that this really explains, like the example of, a doctor knowing anatomy, but if his purpose is not to heal, then he could actually use this information against the patient, as we saw in, some evil people in our generation, previous generation, that like if you just are learning Kabbalah and understanding, really amazing things, but then if your purpose is not to serve Hashem with it then you could actually, like, there's people that use it. I just know the Kabbalah Center here, it's always like a topic, and also in other places that, yeah, they know a lot of Kabbalah more than me. But the question is, what are you using it for? Are you using it for Hashem or against Hashem? So that was interesting. And that's why it's not safe to use Kabbalah without Hasidus. Like Pshat, you can't really go wrong with it. But when it comes to Kabbalah, it's too powerful to use without it being like channeled to the right place. Like you're giving like kids like dangerous knives. Like 1 second, do they know how to, what to use this for?
Yeah.
And another thing that was coming to me, this is it's not really a good example, but I was just thinking when Yehuda, I mean, it's not like with a Chassidus explanation, just like a very simple level. When Yehuda was coming to Yosef and saying, he was coming with strength. He was saying, please help me, right? So his words were saying, help me, but he was coming with the attitude of, you want to help me? Like, great. If not, then I'll get what I need another way. Like, you want to do it through peace or through war? So I was just thinking that also with Eretz Yisrael, like needing to learn from this Yehuda strength of, we don't need the world. Like, it's nice to do it in a peaceful way. So you want to help us? You want to like be on our side and partner with us? Please do. Like, we're coming, we're speaking respectfully, like we should be speaking respectfully. It's not that we're coming and just right away saying, we don't need anyone, but to know that we're attached, we're one with Hashem. We're above, with your help or without your help, we're gonna win this war. So you choose, and it's actually just, I'm thinking now, like it's interesting because, like he was coming to save Binyamin with such a strength. And we also need like to have that strength to save our Binyamin. So anyways, very nice. And by the way, also like talking about Yosef and about Yesod and Malchus, it's somehow connected to Pesach Sheni also, with Ear being like Yesod and Nisan being Malchus. So good timing. Anyways, okay, so let's see the 5th cup, which also it's like, Pesach Sheni. So we don't drink 4 cups, but let's do the 5th cup. Okay. Hakaisa Chamishes Hamashiches. ודוגמה נוספת לעניין פרטי בתורה, בי משתקפת הגישה הקרא לשלטרס החסידות. Another example in a detail of Torah, where we see this approach, this general approach of Hasidus. Just you can hop in whenever something's missing. Okay. Tiknu Chazal l'shtais b'leil seder arba kaises, v'nagu Yisrael limzay kais nesefes v'lekarla kais shel. So the Chazal told us, like established that we drink 4 cups, but there's a Jewish minhag to pour a 5th cup, and this is the kais shel Eliyahu. By the way, is it better if I take off the headphones, or is the sound fine? I'm just wondering.
Sounds fine.
Okay. So in the Sikha of Pesach, the Rebbe explains at length the source for this minhag and the meaning of it. Okay, so his conclusion is not like those who want to explain this, as that it's just in case, some opinion of Rabbi Tarfon, maybe about a fifth cup, so that's why we're doing it, or what the Rambam says about the fifth cup. But that this cup, Kaishal Eliyahu, is a new minhag in the later generations because we're anticipating the coming of Eliyahu Navi to give us the Besuras Agila. So when did this start, this Kaishal Eliyahu? I didn't know that it was like something new.
I actually have to go back and look at that zikha because I looked at it many months ago. I would have to go back and see.
Okay. No, it's just interesting. I didn't know. Like we grew up with it. We
There's
think
a whole Chakravartarya, yeah, about the fifth cup and what it's about and what it stands for. And so yeah. So that's the one to look at.
Okay. So no, just like the Mashiach Suda, we all know that it's something new because we're close to Gula, but the Kashlaleo, I didn't know that it was new. Okay. So in the end, the Rebbe explains that the four cups are connected to the service of man with our revealed powers. Wow. So the Kaisel Eliyahu is connected to the belief in the coming of Mashiach, which is in the inner part of the soul of every single Jew in every situation, no matter what he's doing in a revealed way. So meaning it doesn't matter if he's, let's say, I'm guessing, like from or not from or what level he is within that. But this is something like very deep that's kind of equal in everyone. That we all have this deep emuna in Mashiach. Yes, we just need to reveal it. Umisayim kechol shenimsayim me'uchar yaser b'kvasa de Mashiach karev yaser l'giula zamer etzel b'nei Yisrael b'ayfer chazak yaser. And he ends off saying that as the closer we are, like the later we are within the heels of Mashiach, the closer we are to Geula, the more this shines, this emuna shines in a revealed way in every yid. V'lechein dafka b'daras ha'acharayim niskala v'nispashik yaser haminag shalimzay kais echad yaser mi'amesuvin v'karan aisei kaishel Eliyahu hanavi. And that's why, specifically in the later generations, now is when, like this is when this custom became much more revealed and spread out, to pour an additional cup and to call it Kaishel Eliyahu Navi. Even though in the previous generations we didn't find this in a revealed way. So the Emuna is greater as we get closer, and that's why this became so much more revealed. Vidas Lenavi Neko. Does that mean it's easy to understand? What does that mean?
Yes.
Sheshaychas arba kaises lavaida b'kaychas hagiluyim hi lefisha arba kaises chavnois keneged arba hapartufim al yenim shebaelim atzilas, which so it's easy to understand that the connection of the four cups to the revealed powers is because the four cups are corresponding to the four faces above in Atzilas, which is Chachma, Bina, Zer Ampin, and Malchus. Right? Wisdom, understanding, the Midas, and Malchus. Shedugmasa benefesh Adam, which we have similar in our souls. Hakaychas Haguliyim shel Chachma, Bina, Regesh Shumaisa. So that's how I translated the previous one, but okay. By us, it's right wisdom, understanding, feelings, and actions. And the cup of Eliyahu is corresponding to the level of crown, which is above Atzilas, which in the soul of man is corresponding to the level of Yechida, which is where our faith comes from, like what's above intellect. The Amunah Vatzipia Li'emaisa Mashiach Befrat, and the belief and anticipation for the days of Mashiach specifically. Oh, sorry, and like our Amunah, and specifically our Amunah for Mashiach. והנה שוב מצאנו כיצד גם בעניין פרטי. So it's interesting because you would think that we would want to like drink this cup, you know, like to internalize it. There is such a thing, right? Of drinking a fifth cup, I think, by the Siddur Mashiach. Okay. ושוב שוב מצאנו כיצד גם בעניין פרטי זה מוציא הרבה סנקודה הכללית של יחידה שבתורה ויחידה שבנפש הקשורה עם היחידה הכללית משיח זקנו. So again, we find how in this specific example, right, the Kashal Eliyahu, the Rebbe takes might say Rebbe Sanakuda Klalis. The Rebbe finds the like general points, like of the
Yechida, right? He finds that point of the Yechida of Torah,
and the Yechida in the soul, which connects to the general Yechida, which is Mashiach Zidkenu. So, you want to just summarize that last line?
What basically we're saying is that just like this idea, like we saw with Yehuda and Yosef, now we see with the Kashal Eliyahu,
right?
That the Rebbe is finding in everything, whether it's like a story in the Chumash, whether it's a custom of Kashal Eliyahu, the Rebbe looks at that and says, okay, but really it's much deeper. There's a general klal here about Yechida and about the power of a Yid and the connection that a Yid has with the Eibishter. So we find the Rebbe keeps coming back to that, to this idea of Yechida.
Mm-hmm. וזה מידה בתורה, שכל דבר שהיה בכלל ויצא מן הכלל ללמד, לא ללמד על עצמו יצא, אלא ללמד על הכלל כולו יצא. This is one of the midas of the Torah, that every time we have a general rule, and then we go and like give an example, the example is not just about this, it doesn't apply only here, it's showing you that it applies really everywhere. שמהדוגמס הנ"ל אנו למדים עד כל הבירורים שבתורס החסידות בכלל ובתורס של הרבי בפרט שכולם מכוונים למצוא בכל עניין בתורס הנקודה הפנימית של יחידה ומשיח. So here, you know, we gave just two examples, but from here we can understand and learn that all the explanations of Chassidus, and especially the explanations, the Torah of our Rebbe specifically, are all for this purpose of finding the inner points of the Mashiach in everything, right? The Yechida in everything. If you want, you can fill in over there.
Yeah. That's what we said before. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So should I continue or do you want to summarize or Devara? What do you say?
I'll do the sikkim, then we'll do the union.
Yeah,
so the sikkim.
great.
The Torah Chassidus he b'chinas haYechida sheb'Torah. He megala b've'eretz es mashma'usa shel b'chinas haYechida u'maites u'madgisha b'chol inyan b'Torah es Yechida Shabbat. So we're talking about Yechida, and Chassidus is the Yechida of Torah, therefore is the Torah of Mashiach. And it reveals and explains the meaning of this Yechida, and it finds and emphasizes this inyan of Yechida in the Torah, which is because Chassidus is the Yechida of Torah, so it is going to find that Yechida in Torah. Ba'dugma hayadu l'davar minag Yisrael lo'im ma'ida'ani b'kumay mishnasai shemutar la'amra gam b'yadayim t'meyos lefi she'ein by haskar shmeisav shakar baruch hu. So an example that we gave, very known example, is the minhag to say ma'ida'ani as soon as somebody wakes up, because it's possible to say it with impure hands because we're not saying the names of Hashem. Yet, mevaeres Torah Chassidus shema'ida'ani mevate et haiskashus v'haidah she'yechida shebenefesh. So it's according to Pshat, we're saying Maida'ani, and because it doesn't have Hashem's name, and that's why we can say it while we're still Tamei. But Chassidus comes along and says, don't look at it from that other side. Yeah, it doesn't have Hashem's name, and that's what we can say when it's Tamei. But from the positive side, it's expressing this connection between the Yechida, the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that connection is above any names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because a name is already limiting Hashem. It's not Hashem's essence. But when we connect into essence, and that essence is above Tumah, can't be any pagam, there can't be any impurity at that level. Hetem l'kach efshel l'ray sidra shel raynos chasidim shekulam avatim et haistaklus hamiuchedes shel Yechida sheb'Torah. And so fitting to this, we can see a whole bunch of ideas, Hasidic ideas that all express this approach of looking at the Yechida. So amongst those examples that we gave, the idea that mitzvahs are the will, the rotzen of Hashem that is above intellect. Malas kima mitzvahs b'mais b'pel dafka, and therefore the mila of actually doing mitzvahs physically in this world. Malas b'shal nashim shutim, that brings us to the advantage, the mila of simple people. The idea that all creation is really nullified in relationship to Hashem, everything is as if it doesn't exist. And again, the essence of a Jew that has a koyach to be ma'aseh nefesh to Hashem. The idea that all of the world was created just to make a dwelling place here. Not the idea that the beginning is wedged in the end, and many more ideas. And all of these concepts, what's the, like you say, the Bria Chaticha, and what's that, the uniting factor among all of these different things is that it's all based on Yechida. All of these ideas are really just a taste of the Torah of Mashiach. Because that is the Torah of Mashiach. He's the one who's going to reveal the milas of the mitzvahs that we've been doing all along, and the milas of the simple people. Now Chassidus again finds these general concepts and ideas also in very specific inyanim, not just in these general like overarching ideas, but really in details. For example, the story of how Yehuda approached Yosef. Shetar Chassidus Moises Bayas Milas Yehuda al Yosef, Milas Spheres and Machzal Kol Spheres. Kevan Chanel Tilasim B'Saif and Dafka, where Chassidus shows us that there's in the story, even though it looks like Yosef is above Yehuda, there's a mila of Yehuda over Yosef, because that's the mila of Malchus over the spheres, because again, the beginning is wedged in the end. And really, that's what Hashem wants. It's not just what's at the beginning. What Hashem wants is a physical deer down here. And that is something that's going to be revealed only in the future when Mashiach comes. And so too we find with we're talking about details, right? The general concepts of the advantage of Yidden and all of the things we said, but also in the detail that we have the cups on Pesach. Kaisel corresponds to the level of Keser that's higher than Atzilus. And therefore, it also corresponds to Amuna that's higher than Sechel. And that's why Kaisel Eliyahu is also connected to our belief in Mashiach. And that's how it is with every Inyan in the Torah, that we can have the pshat, even the sight of what it means, but ultimately Chassidus is going to come and shed a light on it from a level that's above Shtalshlus, coming from a level of what Hashem really wants and what the aim of everything really is in terms of what we do down here. Okay, so that concludes Perek Dalet. We now have the Iyunim. We have 6 minutes. I think we can do it. Who wants to go? Rifki, go ahead.
Mashmusam shel chelkei Torah. B'secha perek nispar sheb'Torasena Kedosha kama revodim zel l'mayla mizeh she'oyen shebehem hu Yechida sheb'Torah. Torah Chassidus. So in the Perek, we explained that the Torah has many layers, one higher than the other, and the highest of them is the Yechida of Torah Chassidus. V'yesh lo'esiv tzat l'paritas mashmusam shel chelkei Torah shenim. She'edei zeh yuvan yeser Yehuda shel Torah Chassidus ki Yechida sheb'Torah. And we should add and give more details on the meaning of the different parts of Torah. And through that, we'll be able to better understand the specialness of Torah Chassidus as Yechida sheb'Torah. Ubehektem, Nispar le'el, שבנפש האדם ישנן כמה דרגות זו למעלה מזו, נפש רוח נשמה חיה יחידה, מקבילס לכיחס הדיבר והמעשה רגש שכל, ומה שלמעלה מזה. So in introduction, we explain above that in the Nefesh Adam there are different levels, one higher than the other, Nefesh Ruach Neshama Chai Yechida, and parallel to them are the koiches of Dibor and Maise, Regesh, Seichel, and what is higher than all of them. V'naran Nach, Nefesh Ruach Neshama Chaya, whatever, Nefesh Ruach Neshama Chaya, Shenishtal Shalom Asfiris Al Yenes, Chabad Chagas Nihim. Yechida Shebenefesh, Magbil Ratzin Shel Mayla Masechel, Hamagbil Keser Elyon Shel Mayla Me'eser Asfiris. So these 4 levels of the Neshama come from the higher spheres of Chabad Chagas Nihim. And the Yechida Shebenefesh is parallel to the Ratzin, which is higher than Seichel, which is parallel to Keser Elyon, which is higher than the 10 spheres.
Because here we said we had Dibur, Maisa, Regesh, and Seichel, and Mashal Mala, of course, is Ratzin. So the Dibur, Maisa, Regesh, and Seichel, right? And then you have that's higher than that. Okay.
The Ratzin Elyon. והנה אף שמקיים של 10 ספירס הוא בעולם אצילוס, אף הרסה מאירה גם בעולם הסבריא יצירה ועשייה. So even though the place of the 10 spheres are in Atzilus, but the ray of them shines also in Bri Yitzir Vasiya. Mvur al kach, Spheres HaChachma eina me'ira ela ba'elam Atzilus atzmai, ve'ena mezgalos chutz mimenu. Spheres Habina me'ira ba'elam Abriya, v'laficha ba'elam Abriya hu mokem neshamais hamasigais b'sichlon gedulas Hashem. And it's explained there that Spheres HaChachma does not shine, only shines in Atzilus itself and is not revealed out of it. But Chachma only shines in Atzilus itself, but Bina shines in Olam Habriya. And therefore, Olam Habriya is a place where the Neshamas can understand with their Seichel Gedulas Hashem. Shesh Hamiga is Meiras Ba'elam Yetzira, V'fichach Hu Mokam HaMelach U'Mavdei Hashem Ba'ava V'yira, U'Sveres HaMalchus Koyach HaMaisa Kaviyachal Shal HaKadosh Baruch Hu Miru Pa'elas Ba'elam Asiya Va'ad Lo'elamenu Hagashmi. So the 6 Midas shine in Elam Atzira, and that's why it's a place where the Malachim serve Hashem with Ava and Yira. And Malchus, which is the Koyach HaMaisa of Hashem, so to speak, signs and has an effect in Elam Asiya till this Gashmistic world. Shem Shu Badam Boilam, Kach Gam B'Torah Kedusha, Sheish B'Dargas B'Chinas Nefesh Ruach Neshama Chai Yechida. Hamagbil is the Arba Elam Es Atzilus Bri Yetzira Asiya, V'Keser Shemay Alehem. And so it is in the person and in the world, so it is in the Torah, that there are the levels of the 4 levels, Nefesh Ruach Neshama Chai Yechida. 5 levels of the neshama, which are parallel to the 4 worlds, Atzilus Bri Yetzira Asiya, and the Keser, which is above them. V'zeu she'amru she'bepardes ha'Torah mekavin k'neged arba olamais pshat b'asiya, remez b'yetzira, drush b'briya, v'soid b'atzilus. And therefore it said that Pardes of Torah is connected to these 4 worlds, pshat and asiya, remez in yetzira, drush in Bria, and Soid in Atzilus. Abayfenacher, Mikra Basiya, Mishnah B'Yetzira, Talmud B'Bria, V'Soid B'Atzilus. Okay, and another way of looking at it, yeah, Torah and Asiya, Mishnah and Yetzira, Talmud and Bria, and I guess Kabbalah and Atzilus. Me'al Kol Zeh, B'Chinas Yechida Shabbatayra, Keser Shabbatayra, Torah Selchasidus, and higher than all of is the Yechida in the Torah, the Keser of the Torah, which is Torah Selchasidus. And to make this closer to us, in the little that we could understand, we can look how this division, how we can see this division in the different parts of the Torah. So Torah Shabbat talks about Olam hazeh Gashmi, and even when it talks about Hashem, it describes him in a Gashmistic way. Al der section dabra al schara mitzvahs, ma'irach l'tara beprotius as a schara Gashmi b'olam hazeh. And when it talks about the schar of the mitzvahs, it talks about the Gashmistic schar in this world. B'olam hazeh Gashmi. Ve'inu medabra olam hazeh yenim ruchniim klal. Rak Chazal lamdu zois midiukei l'shoinais b'mikra k'may l'man yitav lach l'olam shekol etay v'chiyotzi bay. Shekol zamatim l'klal hanal mikra basiya. Yeah, I forgot where I was holding. Did he translate? So
So the emphasis of Tanakh is really on this physical world. And even though Chazal find like certain Lashonis where they learn that there's hints to Olam Haba, like the Ma'itav Lach, but really the emphasis is on Asiya, right? And even Hashem, the terminology we use for Hashem is anthropomorphic. It's about Yad Chazaka and Hashem as in physical form.
I actually have another Zoom in school now. I have to go.
Okay. All right.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
I'm gonna miss it.
Thanks, Rivka.
Okay.
I had to get out.
So Rivka Ulansky, you want to continue? You're mute, Rivka, you're mute. Yeah.
It's a Rambam, HaMekabetz L'Torah Shebal Peh Kulan. So by the Rambam, who gathered the whole Torah Shebal Peh together, Nira Sha'aitzim Eilam Habriya Iker. He makes like the main thing the world of Bria. Dahainu, let's see this, Bria, Yitzira. Why did we skip a world? Okay. שמערך לפרט לברה אידיס חשיבוסי של הסגס הלכוס בכלל, meaning that he goes at length to like specify and explain the importance of understanding Hashem in general, mufshat is megash v'stavka, like not in the physical form. ובאופן מיוחד מבארס משמעוסי של העולם הבא, and he especially explains the meaning of the world to come, which according to his view, the meaning is a world with only souls. But where we just sit and enjoy the understanding, the grasping of godliness, the rays of Hashem's Shekhinah. Which this is called in the world of in the language of Kabbalah, the world of Bria, or in the how do you say it, there is the way that Kabbalah classifies it. I don't know. That's Ilam Hasiya.
Because we said Bria is that, where you can have understanding, right? The Bina is in there. This idea that it's all about understanding Hashem and trying to understand, and that we only going to get the understanding, and we have to understand the mitzvahs. Right, that really is all about Bria. It's like Drush, yeah, that's the Bria. Okay. Ves
Ilam Hasiya hu raya kematza ve'efshel la'agor yada u'maisim tayvim b'chtei lagia itam Ilam haba re'uyim, and he sees this physical world as a situation, opportunity to do good deeds, right, and through this to be worthy
of a place to gather. It's a place to gather up knowledge and good deeds and all the things, so we can take them with us.
Take it with us and be worthy of this world of souls, and the world of Bria. Lefichach es kol divrei haTorah oides schar mitzvos ba'olam hasiya u'mefar she'ema ela emtzai la'agia al yadai le'olam haba, and therefore, wherever the Torah talks about reward for mitzvahs in this physical world, he explains it as just a means to come to Elam Haba, Elam Habriya, but he ashleimus hamidas, where you'll really get the real reward, right? The real, like, ultimate perfection, completion. And even when he talks about Hashem above the world of Bria, he still describes it as like a grasping of a human, the human mind grasping Hashem the way it is. He still basically reaches only this world of Bria,
Right? And he's still focusing on the idea of seichel, right? Of bina, of
of
understanding.
understanding. Desire bekisvei harizal mevor bepratius oidis hasfir sheba'elam atzilas. So Kabbalah, the Zohar focuses on the world of Atzilas. So it explains a lot about Atzilas. The sphere says they are on Atzilas. V'chol inyani hatayra about Bria misbarim behetem lemusakim sheba'elam Atzilas. And every idea in Torah and in creation, it explains, like how do you say behetem again? In
How they fit in, right? How they
yeah,
correspond really
the
to
way they correspond
all-
to the ideas in the world of Atzilas. כי האדם שלמדתי מאצילס אינם אלא הערה וההשקפה של הספירס שבאצילס, because the Kabbalah views the worlds below Atzilus as just a ray, like a reflection of what's going on in Atzilus. ואף שיש בתרס הקבלה גם אידס הדרגה שלמעלה מאצילס, and even though, yeah, it does, in Kabbalah, it does also refer to things above Atzilus, אך אינס אקווס לברס משמעס שלהם, but it doesn't stop to actually explain what they mean because it doesn't really reach there. But in the Torah of Chassidus, the main talk is about the level of Keser, which is above all the worlds. And about the Yechida in the soul, which is above the 10 powers. And in every idea in the Torah and in the world, the Chassidus finds the Yechida in everything. As we explained above at length. So, by the way, I'm just wondering, the Yechida, is it closer to the Pshat or to the Kabbalah? Meaning, or
None of it.
neither? So it's not like
None-
that.
No, Chassidus, the Yechida is above. It's not a fifth thing. It's
right.
It's in all of them. It
Equally.
illuminates. It's like
Equally
flashlight.
close.
Yeah, it illuminates
equally
Pshat,
close
it
to that.
illuminates Remesh, Drush, and Sight. All of it.
So it's not closer to the Asiya and it's not closer to Atzilas. It's not like Asiya is closer, like that's where you get closer to it, or Atzilas. It's completely equal to all 4 levels. Yeah.
It gives the life. It's like the life of all of it.
That's why Chassidus is called light and light, because it's lighting up everything, and it's not like Kabbalah is not closer to the essence, and the body is also not closer. It's equal. Ruchnias and Gashmis are equally close or far. Like
Well,
to
Chassidus
the
shows us from that perspective that we talk about, well, closer to what? Closer to the Ratzon of Hashem? Closer in what way? The Ratzon is at the end. So. Okay, so but you notice that as we've explained it now, we talked about Mikra, we jumped to Bria, we left out Yitzira, okay? So we're talking about how we see Chassidus, the Pshat, like the Mikra, the Rambam, and then we talked about Kabbalah and Chassidus. But now let's have a look at exactly going back to that other sentence of how we see Mikra and Asiya, Mishnah Yitzira, Talmud and Bria, and Side in Atzilus.
Do you want to do it, or I should continue?
Yeah, okay. Whatever, you can continue.
Or you can. Okay. ומכיוון נוסף אכל עשה עיקרין, מספד לחילק זה גם באופן הלימוד של חלקי התורה.
From another point of view.
The way that you're learning Torah. Okay. כי בנגיע למקרא, הלכה היא שעיקר הלימוד הוא הדיבור הגשמי בפה. So when you have mikra, like the Torah Shebechsav, the main thing is the actual speech, right? To learn it out loud. The physical, right? Saying the words. Even if you don't even understand it. So this is learning in a way of Asiya, right? The world of Asiya, because there the physical is the most important. Mishnah, Ikar halimud hu ladas as halachos, right? When you're learning Mishnayos, the main thing is to actually know what there's no purpose, right? If you don't understand it. Kosher pasal, tamei or tahar. You have to understand, is it kosher or not? Is it tamei or pure? Ubesigan hakabala, hainu das hakaylo chesed ugvura. Elohin hamidas. Okay, so that's like, we're jumping to another thing.
No,
Okay.
not, 'cause we're saying it's halachas, knowing halachas, and then like Kabbalah would say, das, what is das? Dalas has to incorporate chesed and gvura, right? Because it draws us to do something. And that's the midas. We said the midas.
Elohin
Yes, we have-
hamidas hamiras ba'elam hayetzira. So it connects to the midas and the world of Atzira.
of Yitzira. Yeah, that's Mishnah.
Like, okay.
Because when you say das, right, das is knowing it, but being able to apply it. So what's going to make us, like, so you know, like you learn it and you really understand it well to be able to apply it, you have to have a motivation. So that's why it's the midas that we say in Yitzira, it's that midas that's going to make us, that's the idea of really knowing something.
You're not
right?
learning in order to have knowledge, you're learning in order to be able to apply it. And therefore, it's not similar to the Rambam where you're learning just for the point of like grasping Hashem, but you're learning for the purpose of action. So it's the world of Yitzira and the midas,
And that's
which leads
what you said, Ikar alim hu ladas as halachas, right? Doesn't say like I don't know, loving or ladas, and that's why it goes. And then when you say to know ladas, therefore,
so we're connecting to midas.
Explain daas is midas, right? Because application can only come when there's that motivating factor of application. So that's Yitzira. And then we get the Gemara.
The Gemara ikar limudu lahavin es tameh halachas laumkan bina hameira ba'elam habriya. But in Gemara, like the main learning is to understand the reasons for the halachas. How did we get to this? To understand it deeply, and this is connected again to understanding what shines in the world of Bria. So I guess like Gemara and Rambam, it's kind of putting in the same world. Okay. Ubataras HaKabbalah, in the Torah of Kabbalah, ein dai lahavin es hanilmad. It's not understand to just it's not enough to understand. Oh, ein dai, yeah, to understand what you're learning. Here, the learning has to be in a way of seeing it. As if you can picture it in front of your eyes. So in Gemara, the usual language is like listen. Like to see this. The difference between learning in a way of hearing and learning in a way of seeing, so it's the same difference as the difference between bina and chachma. Bina corresponds to hearing, and by chachma you actually see it, and that's why, like, you see something, you don't need a lot to explain it. You grasp the whole thing, and then you have to like go and like find all the words to explain it to someone who doesn't see it. So in the above like style, I guess, hachilak bein oifen tfisa salikos ba'elam habriya. The difference between the way that godliness is grasped in the world of Bria, and the way it in the way it is grasped in Atzilus. So in Atzilus, it's like, you know, like Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Like he saw, he was able to see, and in Bria they understand. So from here we can continue and understand when it comes to Teras HaChasidus, shehi Yechida shebeTorah v'nispases la'idei haYechida shebeneshama, which is the Yechida of Torah, and it's grasped through the Yechida in the soul. She'ein dai belimad v'avanas hadvarim. It's not enough to understand it. V'gam lo behisamtus shel hadvarim ba'ofen shere'iyah, not even to be able to picture it and really see it in your mind. אלא צריך להיות his atzmos. We need to get to the essence in advarim. We need to really like unite with it. It should be part of us. It's only considered that you learned it if you really unified with it. Because even if you see something, there's me, and okay, I see this. So I believe it. But in Chassidus, we have to actually get to the essence and actually experience it, like in ourselves, like become really one with it. Otherwise, we didn't really learn Chassidus.
That's
So
right.
you're
Like
not
you say,
learning Chassidus to know what to do.
Yeah, Chassidus mon pnimius. That's what we say, right? So it's not about just doing things. It's not about even understanding it. It's not about being able to prove everything. It's not even about able to see with such clarity that is right in front of our eyes. It's much more. It's being able to really be unified with what we're learning and unified with it so that it's part and parcel of who we are. And it runs
Right, like
through,
you don't,
it's a whole shift. It's everything we think, everything we do.
right, like you don't have to see yourself to know that everything about yourself. So it's like when it's inside of you, so you don't, it's above seeing. Okay, a lot to unload, right? So if we're learning Hasidus, we're meant to really, the point is not to understand something, but the point is to actually like really unite and experience it. So like when the
I
Rebbe
think that,
tells us to learn, yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, just I'm thinking about like the learning about Mashiach and Geula when the Rebbe says that this brings to Mashiach and Geula, most likely it's not just to learn it, to be able to, intellectually understand it, but to really live it somehow, like to really be able to reveal the Mashiach and yeah, like to connect with it deeply somehow.
That's right. And I think that's why, like, we think about, now I often think of Zalman Kleiman's painting of the Chassid, in his Bible, just getting ready, thinking Chassidus before davening, and the clock. It's a famous painting. My father has it hanging in our house, and it's like the clock says 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and he still has his towels. He's still preparing for davening, right? Because the contemplation, being able to really unite with what you're learning. It's not just about learning, oh, it's such a nice intellectual thing. Oh, I feel so, nice. I learned something. I know something. But it's so that it's like it becomes one with you. And if it's one with you, then it's expressed in everything you're doing because it's like it's you. It's who you are. So it comes out in everything you say. It comes out in what you do. It comes out in how you think. It comes out in how you behave. It just comes out in everything because it becomes who you are. And that
It
takes
reveals who you are. Yeah.
in a very, what?
I said it reveals who you are, right? Like it's
Well, no, but I'm saying is if you're united with something, then it comes out, right? In what you are. If you learn something and you haven't really connected with it deeply, nobody can tell that you've learned it, right? If you're really connected with it, then people recognize just by virtue of things that you do and you say, even when you don't recognize that you're doing it, but you're doing it because this has really become part and parcel of your identity.
yeah.
And I think
Yeah,
that's when we talk
saying that
Hasidus
it's like
Montpelier.
Mashiach is inside of us. So that's why I was saying that we're not like transforming, but we're just like uncovering something.
Yes, but you can't
Like,
uncover it unless you learn it, right? Because
right.
that step is like you have to say it, you have to learn it, you have to talk about it. And I often
Understand
think about,
that.
women are malchus, and it's like more and more research is showing that human beings in general, how do we learn? How do we remember what we learned, right? Is you have to engage with it. You have to think about it. You have to actually talk about it. You actually have to hear the words. So it's like sometimes, we think we'll learn something ourselves. We'll just read it. That you can't learn, that doesn't help you learn it, right? So the fact that we come together every week and we read it out loud and we actually say the word and we talk about it and we say it again, and we discuss it. That's how you learn, right? That's how you come to that very first step of saying the words and contemplating it and thinking about what it means, going from that step of the, like you say, the mikra of the mouth, and then trying to figure it out what it means and and then fully understanding it more fully. But then it comes to that next point where it's got to be reviewed and thought about and contemplated over and over again, to the point where it becomes so natural that we don't have to think deeply about it anymore, because it's already there, because it's so ingrained that it's now part of who we are.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and for Rifki and Mashiach now.
Amen.
Thank you.